Walpole Film Festival started in 2003 as one of the first high school film festivals in the country. The program has been recognized nationally as a model for creativity and collaboration in the classroom. Students in the program are required to follow each step in modern independent digital filmmaking. This includes screenwriting, acting, art direction, shooting on digital cameras, editing on professional software, and composing original music. The festival culminates each year with a red carpet ceremony that celebrates the achievements of each crew. To learn more about this year's Walpole Film Festival and how to become a sponsor, please visit our website, walpolefilmfestival.com. Thank you and enjoy the movie.
That's me at age 7. Cute, right? And there's Paulina Herskowski, all dressed up for semi. Irene Cappuccino in her new red dress, and everyone's favorite, Bobby Bingham, the kindest 8th grader you'll ever meet. In these photos, we were all struggling with disordered eating. From a young age, I hated the way I looked, but I was too young to understand what a normal relationship with food looked like. At that age, the only way I knew how to alter my appearance was by not eating, leading to overeating, leading to an eating disorder. Bobby, Irene, and Paulina's eating disorders began in their adolescent years. They each fell victim to the vicious cycle of binging, purging, and restricting. So what really is an eating disorder? I would describe it as an unhealthy coping mechanism that shows itself through unhealthy eating habits. But let's see what the professionals have to say.
An eating disorder is an abnormal relationship with food. What you eat, how you eat it, and not only that, but how you think about food, the emotions around eating.
An eating disorder is a psychiatric disease that has a lot of physical repercussions. So oftentimes it's confused for a different type of disease, but it is actually categorized as a psychiatric illness.
Eating disorder to me means that you struggle with eating and it's like an addiction.
An eating disorder, I think, is just anything that disrupts your daily eating routine or anything that would be considered abnormal compared to other people in terms of eating meals or anything like that.
An eating disorder is, quote, any range of psychological disorders characterized by abnormal or disturbed eating habits, unquote. There are roughly 30 million people suffering with an eating disorder every year all around the world, and 8 million of those people are from the United States. Clearly, an eating disorder is not an uncommon illness, but how do they all start?
There can be messages that you receive in your family or growing up about focusing on your body, your weight, what you're eating or not eating.
Right now, we don't know a lot about where eating disorders come from or how they develop. There is some research that shows there is a genetic component, and there likely is, but that doesn't necessarily mean because a parent of yours had an eating disorder that you will absolutely develop an eating disorder.
My family is very health-oriented. Like, my mom would always cook healthy meals. But being a kid, I always wanted like chocolate and stuff, but we never really had that in the house. So whenever she would buy chocolate or buy candy or something, I would just kind of binge on it and then feel instant like shame after. But I didn't realize that was a problem. I thought it was just a normal thing kids did.
My friends were always so much thinner than me, and like that was really hard to like deal with when you were 13, and it made me like really insecure about myself.
My disorder began mostly out of stress related to high school, school, family stuff, and whenever something kind of stressful or sad would happen to me, it would just turn into an eating problem.
When I started starving myself in 7th grade, I started liking what I saw more even when I didn't have a flat stomach, so I guess I kind of just kept pushing and pushing so I could get a flat stomach.
We are all on social media, watching the news, and keeping up with the latest trends. Sometimes the trends that are promoted are unhealthy. Appetite-suppressant lollipops and working out for hours and hours on end. These things are normalized in the media, but how unhealthy they are really goes unnoticed.
the media tends to contribute to eating disorders by portraying a unrealistic body image to mostly young women, but also men, in terms of trying to get them to look a certain way, be a certain weight. So I think that media has not done a good job with that.
I feel like a lot of people don't think about the stigma with eating disorders around males. A lot of males have it, but not a lot are like comfortable telling people. So I feel like when everybody thinks about eating disorders, they like think about girls having them, not really guys. So I guess the stigma would probably be that they just don't have them.
The stereotypes about eating disorders are that it's a white, female, rich person's disease, and that's just not the case. We're seeing eating disorders in adults, in kids, in every nationality, in every body size, which I think is really important, because oftentimes eating disorders are missed or misdiagnosed in people that are living in larger bodies. They're misdiagnosed in males and females. We see a female that is struggling to gain weight or has lost significant weight and we think eating disorder. We see a male that struggles with the same symptoms and we think, oh good, they're losing weight, or they're focusing on their body, or they're getting stronger or jacked up, or they're bodybuilding. We don't apply the same diagnostic criteria.
And I think that there's some shows every once in a while that will show it, or they'll kind of like glorify like girls throwing up in the bathroom or something, to the point where you just think it's normal.
Watching TV shows as like a kid and just seeing like perfect bodies and magazines and Victoria's Secret models, you don't see normal sized Victoria's Secret models. They're all really thin, and I used to love watching the Victoria's Secret fashion shows.
Women are expected to be the size of models, which is typically 5'11" and 110 pounds, whereas the average American woman is 5'4" and 140 pounds. So we have these false images all the time that girls are trying to strive to be like. So that really contributes to eating disorders too.
Because I didn't think that my physical symptoms were severe, I didn't think that I was sick enough to have an eating disorder and thus get help. But this disorder definitely took an emotional toll on me. So how do eating disorders really affect people?
They combine both very physical, biological components of poor nutrition that can have a very detrimental effect on the body, plus mental health issues such as anxiety and depression. So it's really that it's a combination of kind of both physical and mental aspects that you need to treat. So you're really treating the whole patient.
I think I was 15 or 16, and I was going to visit my family for Christmas, and we were on a plane all day traveling, and I didn't eat anything for a day or 2 days or so. And then we were just sitting down for family dinner, and I just fainted on the floor completely. And I woke up, it was for like 10 seconds, but I woke up and they brought me to the hospital and everything, and my family didn't know anything about it. And so they were all like, why did she faint? Asking the doctor, and he was just like, because she hasn't eaten anything. And that's kind of when it became real to me, because they finally found out about it.
I knew the negative effects of it, and like the couple people who I told about it, like were telling me all of them to try to get me to stop, but I was like Googling ways to like counteract it, and like one was like the stomach acid gets on your teeth and ruins it, so I would like gurgle water and not brush my teeth for an hour so that nothing gets stuck, because that's what Google said. So yeah, I knew the negative effects, but I just didn't really care.
The severity of eating disorders can range depending on the complexity of the case, but they can absolutely be very dangerous. Anorexia is actually the #1 most lethal mental health illness that there is. So that is above and beyond depression and anxiety and mental health issues that can result in suicide. Anorexia has a higher death rate.
So I do like a lot of research on the food I eat. So I have a calorie counting app. I only let myself eat a certain amount of calories a day. I know things off the top of my head, like if you go past 3 days fasting, you're gonna start gaining weight. That's not my goal. So I'd probably fast for like 2 days and then I'd probably binge around like 3,000 calories in one sitting. So it's not that I would gain all the weight back, but it wouldn't go anywhere.
My eating disorder affects my day-to-day life because it kind of makes it the only thing I can think about. So like, if I'm having normal conversations, all I'm really thinking about is like what the person thinks of my body and stuff. So it just like affects my ability to like have normal conversations with people without thinking about it.
If I was feeling depressed or anxious in some way, it would then reflect itself into an eating disorder. And then that would just go back and make me depressed or anxious again. And it was always kind of that cycle.
I look at it like an addiction. So it's like, if I could stop eating food, I would. Like, I have such a bad relationship with it, but like, you need it to survive. And I think that's where it gets complicated for me.
I always thought that once I hit a certain weight or looked a certain way, I would be satisfied and ready to recover. I have had this disorder for 9 years now. I have never hit a point of satisfaction. The recovery process is different for everyone, and relapses are a very common occurrence. How does someone with an eating disorder recover?
What I find the most challenging for patients with eating disorders is they're challenged by food day after day. So eating disorders are not the same as addiction, where typically with addiction you're abstaining from the thing that you are addicted to. With eating disorders, we have to normalize the relationship and normalize it with food.
You know, and I've heard some people say with drinking, recovering from alcoholism is difficult, but you can put it aside. You can't put food aside. You have to have a relationship with food.
Recovery for me is still happening. It's still something I have to deal with every day, but it was really long and tiring and hard.
I think that it's not a quick fix, obviously. It's something that requires a lot of time and patience, and oftentimes there are relapses, but with the right nutritionist and therapist and sometimes medication, absolutely. You can recover from an eating disorder.
Yesterday, I actually did relapse.
My last relapse was about a week ago.
About 3 weeks ago.
About a month ago.
Relapse rates for eating disorders are between 30% and 35%. Patients are most likely to relapse during the first year after treatment. But relapses happen. It's a part of the recovery process. I would want to tell someone with an eating disorder that no matter what happens and how many relapses they have, to keep going.
To someone struggling with an eating disorder, I would say that there is hope. I think that many people feel that it's a shameful disease or an embarrassing one. I think because we are still learning about this disease, that it's not often talked about and it's kept a secret. So I think it's important for someone who's struggling to know that there is help and you can get help, and that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because it can feel really isolating.
So it takes time, but it's definitely worth it. I would say be patient and use as many supports as you can. Don't be afraid to tell your friends and the people who love you that you need their help.
My advice for someone with an eating disorder would be to tell someone and to not keep it a secret, because keeping it a secret is going to make it so much worse.
If you're someone who's developing an eating disorder, I think you should talk to someone as soon as possible. Like, if you've never thrown up before, but you feel like you want to after you eat just to get like skinny or feel better about yourself, definitely bring it up, because even though you didn't do it, that could lead to something so bad, and you don't want that to happen.
The advice I would have for someone in recovery is probably to just, I guess, keep telling more people you trust, because what I've found is like the more people that know, the less like inclined I am to do it.
You don't need, if you can't eat like a full meal right at once, like that's okay. You don't need to like jump right back into it again. I think the biggest advice is just to take it so simple, one step at a time, even improving from eating nothing to eating an apple or then eating a sandwich, like just taking it like in those small steps, small increments, and finding foods that are super comforting to you, that you always know that you'll enjoy eating. I think that's really special.
We made this movie to bring awareness to eating disorders. I know if I never got my wake-up call, I would never have gotten help for this disorder. As cheesy as it sounds, if this documentary helps at least one person identify that they have an issue, our goal is complete.